The Galactic Council's chamber fell silent as the final tally appeared on the holographic display. 347 votes in favor, 12 against, and 31 abstentions. The motion had passed with overwhelming support. Ambassador Kethvar of the Zephyrian Empire leaned back in his crystalline seat, satisfaction radiating from his bioluminescent patches. The matter is settled then. The human species has been declared a galactic threat. Military action is authorized. Across the vast chamber, representatives from dozens of species nodded their various appendages in agreement. The evidence was overwhelming, they believed. Humanity had expanded too quickly, adapted too readily, and most damning of all, they had refused to accept their designated role in the galactic hierarchy. Their psychological profiles are disturbing, added Counselor Vextai, her serpentine form coiling around her speaking platform. They exhibit unprecedented levels of stubborn defiance when faced with superior force. Our xenopsychologists classify them as irrationally persistent. The Klaxon representative, whose species had ruled through fear for millennia, gestured with one of his 4 arms. My military advisors suggest a swift, decisive strike. Their home system should be sterilized before they can mount any meaningful resistance. What none of them knew was that Dr. Sarah Chen, humanity's ambassador, had not left the station as they assumed. She stood in the observation deck above, invisible behind the one-way transparasteel, recording every word. Her lips curved into a smile that would have made the assembled aliens deeply uncomfortable had they seen it. The invasion fleet assembled at the edge of the Sol system 3 standard months later. It was magnificent. Over 2,000 ships representing the combined might of 17 different species. The flagship alone stretched 30 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Admiral Zexthal reviewed the tactical displays with growing confidence. Earth's defensive fleet consisted of perhaps 300 vessels, most significantly smaller than even his escort frigates. The humans had been busy in recent decades, true, but they were still a young species. How much could they have possibly accomplished? Sir, his tactical officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Put it through. The hologram flickered to life, revealing a middle-aged human woman in a simple military uniform. Admiral Sarah Chen, the former ambassador's sister, though the aliens had never made that connection. I am Admiral Chen of the Terran Defense Force. You have entered our system with hostile intent. This is your final warning to withdraw. Zexthal's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his species. Admiral Chen, surely you can see the futility of resistance. We outnumber you 7-1 with vessels far superior to your primitive craft. Numbers, Chen replied calmly, aren't everything. The communication ended, and the human fleet began moving into formation. To Zexathal's surprise, they didn't retreat toward Earth's orbital defenses. Instead, they advanced directly toward his fleet. Tactical assessment? He demanded. Their formation is strange, sir. They appear to be creating overlapping spheres of coverage, rather than the standard battle line. Also, their ships are emitting unusual energy signatures. Elaborate. Unknown, sir. Our sensors can't identify the technology. The first exchange of fire answered many questions while raising countless others. The alien fleet's opening salvo was devastating, enough firepower to reduce small moons to rubble. It struck the human formation with precision targeting that should have eliminated half their fleet. Instead, something impossible happened. The energy beams and kinetic projectiles simply stopped. They hung in space for a moment before reversing direction and slamming back into the ships that had fired them. What in the void was that? Zexthal roared. His science officer's voice was barely a whisper. Sir, they've somehow weaponized their defensive systems. They're not just deflecting our attacks, they're amplifying and returning them. The human fleet's counterattack was unlike anything in recorded galactic warfare. Rather than traditional weapons, they unleashed swarms of what appeared to be simple metal spheres. The aliens' point defense systems easily destroyed thousands of them. But for everyone eliminated, 2 more seemed to take its place. They're replicating, the tactical officer reported with growing panic. Each destroyed sphere releases nanomachines that construct replacement units from space debris and our own destroyed hull fragments. But the true horror was yet to come. As the battle progressed, the aliens realized that the humans weren't trying to destroy the invasion fleet. They were studying it. Every weapon fired, every defensive maneuver attempted, Every tactical formation employed was analyzed, catalogued, and countered with increasing efficiency. The human ships began adapting in real time, their hulls reconfigured to optimize protection against specific weapon types. Their engines modified themselves for enhanced maneuverability. Most terrifying of all, their weapons evolved, becoming more effective with each passing moment. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, voice cracking with stress, "we're receiving multiple transmissions from ships throughout the fleet. They're requesting permission to withdraw." Zexthal looked at the tactical display. In less than 4 hours, his magnificent fleet had been reduced to fewer than 800 functional vessels. The humans, meanwhile, appeared to have somehow increased their numbers. "How many ships do they have now?" he asked quietly. "Approximately 700, sir. But, sir, some of them are ships we recognize." "Explain." "They appear to be vessels from our own fleet, sir, but modified, enhanced." The truth struck him like a physical blow. The humans weren't just defending themselves, they were turning the invasion fleet against itself. Every captured ship, every recovered weapon, every salvage component was being immediately integrated into their forces. A new transmission appeared on his screen. Admiral Chen looked exactly as composed as she had hours earlier, though her ship now bore obvious modifications from captured alien technology. "Admiral Zexthal," she said, her voice carrying an undertone that made his species equivalent of skin crawl. "I'm prepared to accept your surrender." "Surrender?" he managed. This is impossible. You're a young species, barely spacefaring. How could you possess such technology?" Chen's smile was patient, almost pitying. "You made a fundamental error in judgment, Admiral. You assumed that because we're young, we're primitive. You never considered that perhaps we're young because we're efficient." She gestured, and the display behind her showed a stellar map. Zexthal's blood ran cold as he recognized system after system, each marked with human presence. "You see, we've been expanding for quite some time now. Not through conquest, through invitation. It turns out that when you solve a species' fundamental problems, disease, scarcity, environmental collapse, social inequality, they're quite grateful. Grateful enough to share their knowledge freely." The map zoomed in, showing the incredible diversity of technologies humanity had integrated: Klaxon shield generators, Zephyrian bioengineering, Altarian quantum computers, dozens of other species' greatest achievements, all combined into something greater than the sum of its parts. "But the truly amusing part," Chen continued, "is that you held a vote, a democratic process to decide our fate. How wonderfully ironic that you chose invasion through the very same process we value most highly." Zexthal's mandibles trembled. What do you want?" "The same thing we've always wanted, Admiral. To survive, to grow, to learn, and to help others do the same. The question is, are you ready to learn from your mistake?" The surviving alien ships found themselves surrounded not by a conquering fleet, but by vessels broadcasting humanitarian aid frequencies. Medical ships, engineering vessels, diplomatic transports. "You have 2 choices," Chen announced to the assembled fleet. "You can return home and report your failure, carrying with you the knowledge that humanity bears no grudge for your attempt at genocide. Or you can accept our help in solving the problems that drove you to seek conquest in the first place." In the end, fewer than 50 ships chose to return home. The rest requested asylum. 3 years later, the Galactic Council convened again. This time, humanity held a seat at the table, not through conquest but through unanimous invitation. The species that had once voted for humanity's destruction now competed to be humanity's closest allies. Ambassador Sarah Chen, now representing not just humanity but the rapidly growing cooperative Commonwealth, addressed the assembly with the same patient smile her sister had worn during the invasion. "The motion before us today," she announced, "is a formal apology to the human species for the unprovoked attack on our system, along with reparations to be paid in the form of technological and cultural exchange." The vote was unanimous. As the session ended and representatives began filing out, Chen allowed herself a small chuckle. Sometimes the universe had a sense of humor after all. They had voted for invasion, expecting humanity's destruction. Instead, they had voted for their own salvation,